Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dr. Cammy Goes Keto, where I am working on transitioning from the standard American diet to a ketogenic diet and looking at a carnivore diet where I'm trying to get myself from a carb addicted state and a carb adapted state to a fat adapted state where my body uses fat as fuel because I still have plenty of that. So I'm working on that. And today I'm here to talk about the GRIN model, GRIN, not grim, but GRIN model, which is called the power of hope. And this is a model that I have a handout here for you that I'm going to put at the end of the channel for you to print out and copy. And it's wonderful. I got this information from Jen Unwin, Unwin, Jen Unwin, PhD, who's a clinical psychologist. I'm not sure where she works out of, but she wrote this book, Fork in the Road. It's a fabulous book. I'll put the link in there too, to Amazon. It did cost some money. It was like $25 or something. But at the front here, Dr. Robert Lustig said, the keys to cutting sugar and increasing love are within these pages. And Gary Taub said, the ideal guide to freeing yourself from fattening carbs and finally getting healthy. And so these are people that are well known in the community, in the keto community, that I do respect. And so I'm looking forward to spending some time in this book. And I really like how it's talking about love and loving yourself in the way of freeing yourself from carbohydrates. That's something that I'm realizing I'm really needing to work on to get myself in the recovery mode. So on the top of this handout that I'm going to give to you, it says here in bold capital letters, in summary, what the GRIN model is. And we're going to go over GRIN, which stands for goals, resources, increments, and noticing. That it says here that these are hopeful conversations, begin with a person's preferred future, like your goals, like what kind of future do you prefer to be working on? Followed by what's already working. So you look at your resources and then you take the next small steps, increments for I, and then reflection on your progress, which is noticing, N, and then you repeat those steps. So this is ideally a good way for a coach or a counselor to help you look through some of your goals and to actually have success in achieving your goals. But the reason why I'm having it done here is for two reasons. One, so that I can refer you to my personal website where I do some coaching. And if you want an individual coaching session around this GRIN concept, I'll be happy to do that for free, a 30-minute consult where we work on this GRIN concept on a particular goal that you have. And also because this is a way that you can be having conversations with other people in your life, with people that are near and dear to you, who are having problems achieving their goals, or even if you have a friend or a partner that you want to go through these steps with, and you guys could both be working on the GRIN concept and the power of hope, and how important hope is in achieving your goals and being able to be successful. So the G stands for goals. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to write down your goal of what your preferred future is. Like, an example for me is that I prefer to be lighter in my weight, to be healthier, to feel attractive, to feel like I'm taking good care of myself, and I'm displaying that to the world. And so it says here, what difference will it make if you achieve this goal? And then you ask yourself, what else will you achieve? What else will you achieve? What else will you achieve? And you keep asking yourself that until you get a good sense of what your preferred future is. Instead of being at cause in your life, people go through life being in effect. And life happens to them. They don't really cause their life to happen. And most of the people go through life like this. And then it's easy to be a victim. And I'm guilty of it too. I noticed this when I went to my mom's the other day, and she was really sweet and nice to me, which was different. And when I left her place, a friend of mine and I discussed how maybe I binged after that because I was feeling so uncomfortable and at dis-ease about how I can't be a victim anymore around her because she's not victimizing me anymore. So that was kind of an interesting reflection that I had. And so you keep asking yourself, what else, until you really get a good sense of what your preferred future looks like. And you can journal on that and, write this down. And then the next thing that you do is you look at R, which is resources. And you rate your resources 0 to 10 for achieving your best goal. So 10 is I have resources everywhere. I know exactly how to go. I know exactly where to do them, how to reach out. 0, 1, 2 is where you really don't feel like you have a lot of resources going on. And so then you ask yourself, have you had any successes in the past with similar projects? So similar things going on. Like for me, losing weight and being successful, I had 3 kids in 3 years. Boom, boom, boom. And my body was like, what have you done to me? Are you kidding me? And I was overweight and unhealthy, and I wanted to shoot for the girl because we had 3 boys. And so I really was motivated, and I joined Weight Watchers, and I lost a lot of weight, and I got really healthy, and I got into clothes that I could fit into before the 3 kids. And then we went shooting for the girl, and we had our 4th son. And I was done. So, but what resources do you have? Any successes in the past with similar projects? What's already working? So you can look at your life and you can look at what's already working toward achieving your goals. You may not have any resources yet. You may have to start from scratch, but a lot of us will be able to pick out 1 or 2 or 3 things that are helping us get to our goals. We just need to polish that up and brainstorm. So you look at what's already working. How did you do that? Who's supporting you and helping you? And I wrote in here under resources, I wrote brainstorm, but I didn't write it on this paper. So I'll put it in there because brainstorming is really important. You have to sit down and uninterrupted with a pen and a paper or on your computer, and you have to brainstorm about what you think may help you. And don't be scant on this. Go all out. Think about, if I could have people help me, this is what I would have them do. And don't be afraid to do that. And then you also ask yourself, what would my best friends say about my ability to achieve your best hopes? Because sometimes it's hard for you to think about yourself achieving your best hopes. So if you put it in the view of a friend, and if you say, well, my best friend or my partner or somebody who's really close and knows me and loves me, what would they say about my best hopes for achieving this? And so that could be a way for you to help look at some of your resources. And then I stands for increments. So those are small signs of progress. And that's really important to look at small signs of progress. We tend to want to look at the end point. And when I was studying to become a doctor, and it was like an 8-year plan, which was crazy, I had to look at little increments, get this class done, get a good grade, which means go study, which means don't watch Joe Montana and Jerry Rice play football. Go to the library, don't go to the family picnic. There were little increments that were going to get me to walking across the stage to that degree. And so that was really important for me to look at the increments. What will be the first sign that you are making progress? What's the first little increment that you're going to be making progress? Like for me right now, when it's being off of carbs and not binging, it's like eating that meal properly. Today, I happen to be on my 2nd fast. Last Wednesday, I went on a fast. This Wednesday, and today I'm doing a fast, and my goal is to have coffee with a little bit of cream in it and broth. And so tomorrow I will be looking at that as, a successful increment as I go through that. And also mentioning that I'm on a GLP-1, I am on tirzepatide. And so that's helping me with my fasting. And that was the goal of that medication for me, is to use it as a transition from binge eating to getting that out of my system and then tapering off of the tirzepatide as I'm working my low carb diet. So small increments. What will they notice? Who will be the first to notice something different in you when you have your increments? So it takes time, right? Your increments, your small increments have to add up. Like, for instance, weight loss. People aren't going to notice that I've lost weight until I've lost like 20, 30, 35 pounds, something like that. I'm thinking probably around 30 or 35 pounds. Well, at the beginning, when I lose 5 pounds, I lose 8 pounds, I lose 12 pounds, people aren't going to notice. And so that's why you have to be able to have this hope and push yourself through, but just keep your eye on that prize of that, 35 out of 100 pounds. And people will start to notice. What else will they notice? When I go, when I go to my family events and I eat, they talk to me about my diet. People ask me the other day when I went to family dinner, we were having pizza and fruit and salad. And the my family members said, "Are you going to be able to eat there?" And I said, "Yes, I'm going to be able to eat there." I said, "Chicken wings would be better if we could add chicken wings into the mix without any sauce or anything, plain chicken wings." And so when I got there, they did have plain chicken wings for me. So that was really great. So what else would you tell you that you are making progress in your small increments? For me, it's putting on clothes. I put on a pair of pants the other day and I was surprised I could almost button them. So things like that. What is the smallest possible step you could make towards your best hopes today? So, not looking at big things and putting yourself down or feeling defective or like a failure because you didn't do this big, huge goal, but just doing small incremental goals. What difference would that make? And then paying attention to those goals, giving yourself credit for those goals, which gives us to the final letter, which is N in the GRIN model. And N stands for noticing. And it says here, have you already noticed in this conversation that makes you hopeful, that you will achieve your best hopes? What have you already noticed? And that's really important to pay attention to that. And not only to pay attention to that, but to give ourselves credit for that. Like the other day, Mike and I were talking about how I was in the grocery store and I was looking at dill relish and sweet relish. And in my mind, there was this voice that said, well, you can get the dill relish and the sweet relish and just mix it in 2/3 dill relish and 1/3 sweet relish. And there won't be a lot of sweetness in your relish, and you'll be able to handle that. That won't trigger you into a binge. Well, it didn't matter because the sweet relish has sugar in it, usually actually high fructose corn syrup in it, which is really bad for you. And so I in the store while I was looking at this, I had to have a conversation with that little voice in my head and say, no, that's got sugar in it. And so for today, I'm not eating sugar. And so that's what I did. I got the dill relish and not the sweet relish. And so, that's important for me to notice that and to not brush it off like, oh yeah, whatever, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's what I tend to do. I tend to say, well, yeah, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And then I don't give myself credit for it. So you have to be sure that you give yourself credit and that you are making steps toward noticing. What will you notice when you wake up tomorrow that shows you are making progress? So one of the things that I've noticed is that in the morning when I get up, I sit right up in bed, and sometimes I have to kind of get some momentum and swing my legs so that I can get myself to sit up because of my tummy. And the other day I noticed that when I did that, it was less momentum that I needed to get myself to sit up in bed. And so it's just like, okay, well, that's just a little thing that I'm doing to get myself up and out of bed. That's easier than it was before, and then sometimes I can notice when I look at my tummy that my tummy's going down a little bit in the way that it looks. And so that's things that I can notice when I wake up first thing in the morning when I pee. Okay, so the other thing that's really important is that ongoing support is key for these steps. You have to continue to have ongoing support, and group help is more effective than individual therapy. And one of my hopes is to have some group counseling that I do for sugar detox on my own website. I'm not ready. I'm not doing that yet. I'm not ready to do that. I'm looking for some more people to individually coach to get a little bit more experience with that. But having us all together. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and I'll put a link in my chat, is that sugardetox.com with Mike Collins is a wonderful way to get that now. We have sugar support meetings in there, and I lead one on Monday and one every other Saturday as a sugar detox and addiction coach, which helps people in group support get off of sugar. And as a matter of fact, this morning I've already texted. I talked to one person and texted her, and I texted with another individual who are both in that group just to kind of touch base, give each other support as we start our day, because they're needing some support and getting what I call insurance for the day. Before you start your day, you call somebody and you get some insurance. Or when I'm on the way to see my mother, I always call somebody and talk to somebody before I get there and talk to somebody before I get back when I leave. And that's been helping me have some success around my mother, which the last time I went and saw her, I did not binge. I had a wonderful time, and there's lots of places for me to make bad choices on the way home from her house, and I did not. So another chalk up another one for me as far as what I'm noticing. So hopefully this GRIN model is something that you guys can utilize. I'll put lots of things in links at the bottom of the description of what's going on with this video today, and I'm getting better at that. So as far as my IT skills go, and I hope that this gives you a way to kind of look at your preferred futures and your preferred goals and your goals, and to help have success with it. So thank you so much, and everybody have a great day. Bye.